guys, my name is Courtney and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a review of Call Down the Hawk by Maggie Stiefvater. This is Maggie Stiefvater's newest release and it is a continuation series of The Raven Boys. If you don't watch my channel, then you don't know that I am absolutely trash for the Raven Cycle. Just a stereotypical one of those girls who just really likes the Raven Cycle and the Raven Boys. I reread the Raven Cycle for this book. My love for the Raven Cycle has not died out since rereading it. In fact, it feels like a lot more now. And so I was so excited to get to pick up this book and read it. I loved it. I don't think it was a perfect book. I still loved it. I feel very complicated even like after having finished this like a week ago. In a lot of ways I feel like I have mixed feelings, but I also loved it. I'm assuming that everybody that's watching this review has read the Raven Cycle, and so if you like the Raven Cycle, I think you will love this, but also realize that it is not the Raven Cycle and it's not trying to be. This is very much a Ronan book. It's about Ronan and his family. Ronan is my favorite of all of the characters in the Raven Cycle. I love all the Raven Boys. I love everybody, but like Ronan is my favorite and I like connect to him on a very personal, deep level. Getting a series about him, of course, like I'm gonna love it, but this book does not really have the characters of the Raven Cycle. There's kind of hints to them, there's little callbacks to them, but they're not in this series, or at least this first book. I feel like they could pop up more in later books, but I kind of doubt it. I think the best way to describe this is to like, Adam is at college doing his college thing, Gansey and Blue are off on their adventure across America, and this is kind of the year where Ronan is all by himself for once. Declan and Matthew are off in DC, so he's completely alone at the Barns. And he's kind of going crazy because he has nothing to do and nobody to hang out with, and he didn't realize how much he needed his friends and how lonely he is without them. This is like a Ronan side quest or a Ronan side adventure. Those characters all exist and they're there somewhere in the world, but this is like Ronan going off, doing his own thing, going on his own solo adventure. So we have Ronan, we have his brothers, Declan and Matthew are there. We have some new perspectives for new characters. I don't know how Maggie does it, but I absolutely love these characters and I care about them. There was this one character that I didn't like. He was so annoying to one of the perspectives. First of all, it was like this annoying little shit. And then like when Carmen figures out why he's acting the way he's acting, I was like, oh shit. It like flipped completely. Like I suddenly cared about him so much. And when the stuff that happened to him, oh my god, I cared so much. Maggie Stiefvater writes character-driven stories, and it really shows because even though it doesn't always feel like a lot is happening in this book, I care so much because I care about these characters. I care about Jordan, Hennessy, I care about all of that situation, I care about Carmen and Parsifal, I care about Ronan, of course I care about Ronan, but I care about Declan Lynch now, which like I was kind of surprised by. Like I never hated him, but like I wouldn't consider myself a big Declan Lynch fan, and like now I suddenly very much care about him. So that is the strength of this book. That's the reason why this book is a 4.55 stars overall, is because the characters keep me engaged even when I don't necessarily care about the story. Going to the story, the plot. It's not that I don't care. It's just like the Raven Cycle, this book is slow. It's slow building, slow moving. Sometimes it feels like a lot isn't happening, but so much happens internally with the characters, and that's the reason why you care. Sometimes it feels like the characters are just bumbling around doing nothing. They're doing so much in here, and that's what matters. I was perfectly okay with like all of the plot stuff that is going on. If you pitched this book to me, you would talk about how it's a bunch of people that are dreaming and a lot of stuff happens in dream sequences. The writer in me knows like how lazy dream sequences are and like how much I hate them, but I love them in this book. Like I really care about dreamers and dreaming and the dream sequences and what happens in these dreams because they mean so much more and like they're so good. So despite this book happening mostly in dreams sometimes, like, I'm very okay with it. I know the Raven Cycle is kind of dark, but this book somehow feels even darker. It has some gore, it has some violence, it has some dark things that are happening. It feels YA, but at times it also feels like a little bit more mature than YA. I love Maggie Stiefvater's writing, and I think that her writing has only grown and improved and matured in this book. It's not that her writing has changed, I just think it's like matured over time, which like that's what happens in books, and so I can feel it in this. And and honestly this book feels a little bit more mature than YA. I am not a young adult technically anymore. I'm a 23-year-old, almost a 24-year-old, so I appreciate this kind of darker undercurrent, this more mature aspect to this book, and I really, really loved it. But I guess that's a thing to know going in, is that this book is a little bit more mature than the Raven Boys, but like that makes sense. The characters are older, they're going through different things now, so everything just fits to me. I think the other biggest gripe that people will probably have is that this book does not have a lot of Adam and Ronan. The thing that hit me so hard in this book is that Maggie Stiefvater used titles to like talk about what they were. So Ronan calls himself gay, Adam has queer friends, he's in a LGBT friend group. I don't know if he identifies as pan or bi, but like he knows what he is now. Ronan consistently thinks and calls Adam his boyfriend, and so even though that there aren't that many scenes of them together, it is so like powerful to like just hear Ronan calling himself gay, calling Adam his boyfriend. I'm very happy that the relationship is very minor and that it's kind of far away, because that way we don't have a chance to mess it up. There is a little bit of conflict in their relationship in this. It's not like the typical YA kind of romantic conflict. It's much more internal. I don't know how to describe it, but like I really loved what Maggie did with this relationship. Ronan especially is starting to be scared or have doubts about if Adam still loves him and wants him. That kind of is dealt with really beautifully and delicately in this book. You know, just seeing the love and support that they have for each other is just so good. And so like I'm glad that like, you know, we established like this conflict in their relationship, but it's in a very mature, subtle way. It's like put away because we have more important things to do, and I'm very much okay with that. The only thing that, like, I didn't love about this book was Bird. That character, I believe that's how you say his name. He's like this mystical, magical figure. He confuses me. Every time he spoke, I was just like very confused what was happening, and I'm like, I don't know what you're saying, dude. You know, it's this kind of like, oh, I have to withhold information from you, Ronan, because you can't know it. I don't know. Just something about him kind of annoyed me. We get him at the end, like he's there at the end, and so I am assuming that he's going to be pretty important in the second and third book. He's not my favorite. I feel conflicted about him and like how he was presented in the narrative. Only time will tell if Maggie can change my mind, which she probably can. And then the other thing that Call Down the Hawk brought up to me is just like plot contingencies, questions that I have from the other books. At the end of The Raven King, Ronan gets the forest to give up its life for Gansey, and then Ronan kind of thinks about he's going to bring the forest back as something else. Cave's Water is gone. Cave's Water is not here, but Ronan has a new forest called Lindenmere that is here, and it's like more itself. And I really liked how it was explained at the ending, but I wish we had gotten that set up a little bit earlier, because we don't actually see Ronan bring this forest back into existence. And so like for a really long time I was really confused. I'm like, hey, the forest is supposed to be gone. What is this? What's here? Like, not correct. I kind of wish that we'd seen Ronan bring the forest into existence, because this kind of happens almost directly after the Raven Boys, only like a couple months after the Raven Boys. You know, if we had explained all of Lindenmere from the beginning, it would have been a little bit easier to like comprehend, and you know, I wouldn't have been questioning things while I was reading this book. Then the other thing is, you know, Ronan has this idea that he's like all alone, that there's no one like him, but he also is like, there has to be other people like me. And so in this book we're really exploring other dreamers and other people like them. It gets so confusing. Like, the lore of this series is confusing. From what I remember, you know, we have Kavinsky, we have Niall, Neil, who are dreamers, but Cave's Water calls them thieves because they steal from the dreams, and Ronan is special. He's a Grey Warren. He like doesn't steal. He's not the same as other dreamers, and like we really see that in this book. He's definitely more powerful than the other Zeds or dreamers that we come across, but I'm just like, where's the line again? You know, is Ronan the only dreamer and everybody else thieves? It kind of seems now that everybody's a dreamer that can have this ability. Is Hennessy a dreamer or a thief? I don't know. Like, it seems like she's a dreamer, but it gets very confusing, and I'm just like, is there a distinction between dreamers and thieves now? Or are we just gonna like sweep under the Grey Warren thing all under the rug? Ronan's just kind of better and special than everybody else because he has a connection with this forest, but everybody else is technically dreamers still? I don't know. I'm confused about it. If anybody knows the answers to these questions, I would really like to know, because I feel like I'm losing a little bit of the dreamer lore through this book, and maybe Maggie just is reestablishing it for this series, legitimize like these characters in this series. But after directly reading The Raven Boys and going into this this, I'm just like, wait a minute, something is not adding up, I'm confused. Overall, the Raven Cycle and these books are confusing. I'm not really surprised that I don't get it yet on the first read. I already want to reread the Raven Cycle even though I just reread it. I want to reread this even though I just read it. These books just do something that no other book series does for me. It's not even like that it's so special compared to other books, but it's just like YA books. I would say 70-30. 70%, most of them are plot driven, 30% are really truly character driven. And this is character driven to a max. Like, it's really just a contemporary novel about these internal conflicts and feelings that have magical elements pasted on top to explain these internal feelings. I don't know. It's just, this book hits me in a way that nothing else does. It satisfies me in a way that nothing else does. It has characters, it has this like speculative, fabulous element that I love, and it's just so tied into the characters and what's going on, and it's so beautiful. And I don't think it would even be possible for me to hate this book just because it's following Ronan and I care about Ronan. I hope you guys enjoyed my really rambly discussion of Call Down the Hawk. If you've read this book, I would love to hear what you thought of it down in the comments. I'll talk to you guys later, and happy reading.